Well, everybody, it looks like we owe a massive apology to all of the multi-billion-dollar companies out there, especially companies like Take-Two and Rockstar Games under them, because, we are just wrong. Very clearly, we are all wrong. We don't understand the value that Rockstar, or that Take-Two, I should say in this instance, using Rockstar's properties, is giving us from Red Dead Redemption being released on the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch. We're just too small-brained. We are too stupid to comprehend the amazing value of this pack, of this port for modern consoles, as they call it. We're just too dumb. I want to talk about this today because I think this is very hilarious for those of you who are maybe a little bit like me and can't always detect sarcasm well. I am very clearly being sarcastic. This is very stupid. But before we hop into it further, I appreciate all the support on yesterday's video on this topic. I'm not going to milk it into the ground. I really only wanted to follow up on it because there was a very big actual update to this entire thing with the Red Dead Redemption port. So if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I appreciate it very much. I'm going to be working on some fun things coming up here. I have another Metal Gear Solid video very soon. I also have a review I'm working on for Transformers War for Cybertron, a couple movie reviews, and more. So I hope you'll join me along on the ride for that, and I appreciate you. But what's interesting is in a Take-Two earnings call on August 8th, which was yesterday, actually after the announcement of the price point of $50 for this port, which, might I remind you, is going to be not in 4K. It is a 1080p port as of right now on the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch. Very clearly, it was not put on the PS5 or anything like that because they didn't want to go through the extra effort. Well, yesterday, after an earnings call with Take-Two, it was actually revealed by IGN when they asked CEO Strauss Zelnick of Take-Two why they priced this new port at $50, which some of my Canadian viewers told me is going to be 65 Canadian dollars. And I don't know if I saw any Australian comments, but Australian viewers always tell me it's more money there. So this is not just 50 USD. It's not just that. That is probably the cheapest you're going to find it, because in America, these games are a little cheaper a lot of the times. But anyways, I digress. They asked him, IGN asked him, why it was priced the way they did, and he didn't really give an answer. I mean, he did, but it's not very convincing. It was, that's just what we believe is the commercially accurate price for it. That's it. It's just, hey, that's what we think it's worth. Which I gotta say, I am definitely 100% convinced, even ignoring all the following context that we're going to talk about a little bit more here. And he went on to justify it, basically adding with Hannah Sage, the EVP of Finance, that this game, it includes Undead Nightmare. So we feel like it's a great bundle for the first time, and certainly a great value for consumers, value being what we're going to circle back to here in just a second. And then they did talk about a PC release with Zelnick, who pretty much left all of that vague, and then talked about why they didn't do a remaster or a remake. And the quote is a little long here, but basically it's a lot of mumbo jumbo, corporate speak, where it says, it depends on the vision that the creative teams have for a title, and in the absence of having a powerful vision for something that we would do with a title, we might bring it in its original form. We've done that, and in certain instances, we might remaster or remake the game. So it really depends on the title and how the label feels about it, the platform, and what we think the opportunity is for consumers. So you heard it here from CEO of Take-Two, Strauss Zelnick, CEO of the company that definitely did not hurt Rockstar Games in terms of the quality of what they put out, definitely is not part of the reason that shark cards are so big and why single player goes largely ignored after base release now. That CEO of Take-Two, one of the guys who is definitely not the reason for why 2K Games has gone so to shit. That dude. Well, if you don't believe the multimillionaire Strauss Zelnick about how well, you should be thanking him, how much you should be thanking him for this value, well, you're clearly just having a small brain moment because Take-Two says it's a good value. And again, the whole reason this was an issue is because $50 for this game is kind of ridiculous given that it's very clearly trying to exploit players who never had an Xbox platform in the past to play the game. Here's why I say that. The original Red Dead Redemption game output at about 720p. And actually, information I had looked up about this, because I didn't buy it at launch. I bought it when, it was a little older. It was actually being upscaled from about 640p or something like that. I'd have to look at it again. I'll show you on the screen, but it was basically being upscaled from a lower resolution to 720p on the PlayStation 3. So it wasn't really a super, super clear game, but if you played it on the PS3, it was still a really fun experience. Pixel count is not that big of a deal, but it's worth taking into account when you're paying a bunch of money for a game. Then on Xbox, it would go on to get free enhancements where it would be patched to run in 4K. It's very smooth, very pretty, looks good in 4K at 30 FPS still, but again, it looks very good. It's, as game developers often say when they justify lower frame rates, it does look very cinematic, I will say that. But when it comes down to it, that version of the game now, if you're going to get it used, you can find it sometimes for under $20. Game of the year with all of the content on discs for Xbox 360. Then you pop it in your Xbox One X or Xbox Series consoles, like Series S and X, and then there you go. It's running, and you download a 4K little patch there, a little update to enhance the game, and it looks beautiful. Yes, it's not on disc in terms of its, release. I would love a 4K on disc version of Red Dead Redemption just for the preservation sake of the game at a high fidelity. Cool, I would love that. But still, it's pretty much like a $30 game max sealed that you are then able to download a patch and upgrade to 4K. Also worth noting, that version of the game has the multiplayer for the original Red Dead Redemption and includes Undead Nightmare. So base game, Undead Nightmare, and all of the DLCs for the multiplayer, which is still functional as of recording this on August 9th. The whole reason I wanted to revisit this is because I find the idea of the CEO of Take-Two kind of talking down at the consumers, at the players, and saying, no, actually, this is a really good value, you just don't really understand, in a way, kind of saying that, backhandedly, kind of dismissing this criticism, and saying, no, it comes with Undead Nightmare, it's the original game, it's a port, now finally people get to play it on PlayStation, 4 and 5, and Nintendo Switch, obviously, and kind of going that route. I find that whole thing really laughable. Take-Two is, in my opinion, the reason why Rockstar has honestly been on a downward trend for output for years. Take-Two, it's worth noting, is the same company that owns and really enables the shenanigans of 2K games. They make all kinds of different sports games, and what do all of those sports games have in common? Virtual currency, microtransactions, really trying to push you to spend a lot of money. And then, of course, having the balls to put out another game a year later and pretty much hand wave away whatever you paid and did in the previous game. Obviously, Take-Two, above 2K and above Rockstar, has not really been a great thing for consumers. Now, for the companies, it's amazing. They swim in money. We previously talked about how much they make off of just GTA Online and the shark cards, and it's insane. And I wanted to address a couple of things. I actually don't have anything against people who casually will turn on GTA Online sometimes, play a few rounds of deathmatch or drive around a little bit, maybe earn something and then leave. Yes, I know that those active players are used to boost the ego of the company and they are shown off as basically like a look at how many people we have playing. I understand that. I don't really blame people playing the game. And then I also saw a lot of people saying, oh, well, anybody who spends any money in the game, they're the problem. I don't really know if I necessarily agree with that either. I do think people just kind of dumping money into GTA Online is just enabling Rockstar to be bad, to just kind of not try. So I agree with that 100%, and I wish people didn't do that. However, I also think Rockstar would have the option, would have the, the free will, the agency, to choose to rise above that a little bit and still make really good games, still make really great things. And yes, Red Dead Redemption 2 had a very great story mode, it had a very great single player, but what did it not have? Didn't get any kind of focus on single-player DLC like Undead Nightmare. It didn't really get any focus even on its multiplayer because it was just too hard to make it a cash cow like GTA Online. And what do we see from, Rockstar constantly with Take-Two above them now? Well, We see a push for these microtransactions. We see a push for being as greedy as possible with as little output as possible. And finally, we see a push to ignore any franchise that is not easily monetizable. Have you noticed that Max Payne is really nowhere to be found? Have you noticed that Bully, it's just not really a thing anymore? They just don't really make Bully. I mean, there's other games that Rockstar used to make as well, and they just kind of don't. They just kind of don't care about them. I mean, right now, it's basically like they are the GTA and Red Dead company again, except they're basically just the GTA Online company that then kind of pumps out a very good, very big story mode every decade for some game, and it kind of builds goodwill off of that, and then throws it all away over time. You know, that's what they did with GTA Online. They made a very solid, great game, and then over time, they neglected it. They canceled all of those single-player DLCs. They, moved away from content updates for it that they had pretty much confirmed would happen, and then, sorry, they're not happening. Why did they do that? Because of online, because of money, because of shark cards, because it was bringing in that virtual currency money, just like NBA 2K was for Take-Two. So I think the blame can kind of go all around. Now, at the end of the day, if you are a Switch gamer, or you are on the PlayStation 4 or 5, and you have never been able to play Red Dead Redemption, and this is your only way to play it, I honestly don't fault those people for wanting to buy the game. I saw some people being very, very rude and vitriolic about that. I don't really fault those people if they were never able to experience the game before for wanting to. And that's one of the things that I find really exploitive and sad about this, is that this whole thing seems based off of the idea of, hey, if you never got to play the game before, now's your chance, except it's more money for you than the other guy. That's kind of frustrating to me, whether it's because you're on the Switch and you don't have, an older system to play this on, whether it's because you're on the PS4 or 5 and you don't have an Xbox, whether it's, maybe you have a PC, you've been waiting for that port, it never came out, and now you're like, okay, well, this is going to be my only way to really play the game well. There's a lot of people who are just in kind of a frustrating spot who weren't gamers when the original came out, or maybe they were kids, couldn't play it, maybe they couldn't afford it, whatever, and those people now, they should be able to play the game for the same price as people on Xbox who can get it for a lot cheaper and with a better experience. Yes, I understand the Switch is not going to be a 4K gaming experience, but it's very clearly lazy and just kind of like a throw your hands up in the air and not care anymore move to just dump it on the PS4 at basically 1080p 30 FPS and call it a day in 2023. Now, I have nothing against those tech specs. I went back and I played through Silent Hill 1 on my Let's Play channel recently, which I'm going to link in the description down below, Degenerate Plays. I always enjoy when you guys join me over there. Maybe hang out for a while. But, I like old games. That's not my problem. The tech specs themselves are not the problem. The problem is releasing those tech specs in 2023 as a massive company that makes billions of dollars off of microtransactions and is swimming in cash, but can't be bothered to update their single players or even fix Red Dead Redemption Online. They just won't even bother with Red Dead 2's online because it would just be too hard to fix. It's just hit new levels of laziness and honestly, I think entitlement as a company to just expect people to roll over and buy it anyway. That's really what this Take-Two CEO was kind of doing, in my opinion, was basically saying, hey, look, this is the value of the game. Like it or not, this is what it is. You can buy it or you cannot. We're doing fine. That's kind of the vibes I get from the answers to those questions, is basically, if you don't like it, fuck off. I'm really tired of this too. It seems like these days the only consumer pushback that companies actually will cave to has to be political in nature. It'll have to be like, we accidentally ran an ad and it was interpreted as racist. Or like, oh, our CEO said this thing and that got out. And all of a sudden there's, groups of communities that are frustrated with us. Okay, well, we will address those things, right? Like social or political failures, we will address those because we want to appear moral. But when it comes to actual business decisions, things like how much do we charge a consumer? What are we going to deliver for them to enjoy? Those kinds of things, it's like they plant their feet in the ground firmly. They look you in the eye and say, no, you're the problem. It really reminds me of the Principal Skinner meme. It's like, am I out of touch? No, it's the kids. They're the problem. that's really what Rockstar and Take-Two and all of these companies come off to me as, is like so oblivious. And the frustrating thing is they don't have to pay attention because they're swimming in money anyway. That's where I do think some fault falls on people who enable these decisions by constantly pumping money into these products. At the end of the day, if you're going to buy this game because you're excited and you're like, well, it's on Switch or it's on, PS4, this is my only chance to play it, I never had the other stuff. Okay. I mean, my personal opinion, wait for a sale because it will go on sale and it is not really worth that $50. If you want to spend the $50 to get a worse experience than people on Xbox, fine. That's your money. I'm not going to stop you. I spend my money in ways that I'm sure people would laugh at. But I don't really think it's sending a great message to Rockstar, and neither are the people who are constantly pumping money into these shark cards and things like that. If you want to play these games casually and enjoy them, I think they're fun for that. But I think the constant enablement that Rockstar has been able to get, from community members who also flood the comments of videos like this to constantly defend their little god, the gaming company, I think it's very, very sad and frustrating because it really gives them no incentive to ever improve. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed today's video and subscribe for more content. I'm going to be working hard on some upcoming things, Transformers War for Cybertron review, another Metal Gear video very, very soon, and more, so I hope you will join me on the ride for that. I also do have a Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays, in the links down below in the actual the description. So if you're interested, join me over there. We play games and hang out podcast style. Also, we do have another channel, Magical Jill. That is my wife's channel. We recently uploaded a top 5 Pokemon video there. And finally, we do also have our own shop, which is magicaljill.com or enchantedglamour.com, where we do sell a lot of very fun handmade resin pieces that we repurpose comic book paper from. Basically, places are throwing out comic books. A lot of these places don't even recycle them. They will throw them in the trash. They will get rid of them. We take a lot of these different things before they hit the trash when they're on their way out of these smaller businesses and pawn shops and stores. And what we will do is we will use them to actually make coasters, keychains, all kinds of other stuff. And then we will recycle what is not used so that stuff is actually repurposed and reused. So I think that stuff is really cool. And my wife also does a very beautiful, wonderful job of making handmade jewelry, which honestly constantly impresses me. I am very, very lucky to be in the presence of an actual artist, not just someone who yells at a microphone. So I really do appreciate when you check those things out. It means a lot to me and it means a lot to my family. And we do have channel memberships and Patreon as well. So I hope you have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shway.